Boeing, once the undisputed king of the skies and a symbol of American innovation, had a reputation built over decades for engineering excellence, reliability, and safety. Its aircraft connected continents, powered economies, and inspired generations of aviators and travelers alike. But beneath the gleaming exteriors and storied legacy, a storm was quietly brewing, one that would soon shake the very foundations of the aviation giant. In the late 2010s, Boeing faced a crisis of unprecedented proportions, one that would not only threaten its dominance in the aerospace industry, but also call into question its very commitment to safety and integrity. The world watched as headlines blared news of disaster, and the company's leadership scrambled to respond to a rapidly escalating emergency. The tragedy began with the catastrophic crashes of two 737 MAX aircraft, Lion Air Flight 610 in Indonesia, and Ethiopian Airlines Flight 302 in Ethiopia. In a matter of months, 346 lives were lost, families were shattered, and the aviation community was left reeling. Investigations soon revealed that a critical software system, MCAS, had malfunctioned, repeatedly forcing the plane's noses down and leaving pilots powerless to regain control. These fatal software flaws exposed deep-seated issues within Boeing's engineering and oversight processes. In response, aviation authorities around the globe took the extraordinary step of grounding the entire 737 MAX fleet. For 20 long months, hundreds of jets sat idle on tarmacs and airfields, their futures uncertain. Airlines scrambled to adjust schedules, passengers lost confidence, and Boeing's reputation suffered a blow from which it would struggle to recover. Yet, even as the world's attention focused on the grounded planes, Boeing's production lines kept moving. The company continued to build new 737 MAX jets, unable to deliver them to customers. This led to a surreal and haunting sight: vast aircraft graveyards, with row upon row of undeliverable jets baking in the sun, their engines silent and their cabins empty. As the crisis deepened, scrutiny intensified. Regulators, lawmakers, and the public demanded answers. Investigations uncovered not just a single software error, but systemic failures in Boeing's production and quality control processes. Reports surfaced of rushed timelines, overlooked safety checks, and a corporate culture that prioritized speed and profit over meticulous engineering. The logistical nightmare that followed was staggering. With hundreds of planes grounded, Boeing was forced to inspect, repair, and upgrade each jet, often under intense scrutiny and tight deadlines. Maintenance crews and engineers worked around the clock, trying to restore confidence in a product that had once been the pride of the fleet. To manage the overwhelming backlog, Boeing established massive temporary repair facilities, so-called shadow factories. These makeshift operations sprang up in warehouses and hangars, filled with teams dedicated to reworking and certifying the stranded jets. The cost was staggering, both financially and reputationally, as Boeing struggled to regain the trust of airlines, regulators, and the flying public. These shadow factories, with their dimly lit rows of silent aircraft, became a powerful symbol of Boeing's deep crisis. A stark reminder of how quickly even the mightiest can fall when safety and oversight are compromised. Shadow factories were dedicated rework facilities, not traditional factories. They were set up to fix Boeing's flawed and undelivered planes. Moses Lake became the primary modification center for the 737 MAX fleet. These facilities required massive logistical efforts and resources. Shadow factories were a departure from lean manufacturing, focusing on correcting rather than creating. They symbolized Boeing's deep-seated production problems. Inside shadow factories, technicians battled defects in time. These hidden hubs of activity were crucial in addressing the myriad of issues that had plagued the fleet. Every day, skilled hands worked tirelessly to ensure that each aircraft met the highest standards of safety and performance. The primary task was updating the MCAS software, a complex procedure that required precision and expertise. This software update was essential to prevent future malfunctions and ensure the safety of passengers and crew. Engineers meticulously checked and rechecked their work, knowing that even the smallest error could have significant consequences. Planes needed comprehensive maintenance after months of idleness. The prolonged grounding had taken a toll on the aircraft, and each one required a thorough inspection. Mechanics worked around the clock, performing detailed checks and making necessary repairs to bring the planes back to operational status. New production issues required retrofitting fixes onto stored planes. This involved installing new parts and making modifications to address any potential problems. The process was labor-intensive and required a high level of coordination among the teams. The 787 factory focused on rectifying gaps between fuselage sections. These gaps, though small, could compromise the structural integrity of the aircraft. Workers used advanced techniques and tools to ensure that each joint was secure and met stringent safety standards. Technicians used advanced tools for precise repairs. These tools allowed them to diagnose issues with pinpoint accuracy and make the necessary adjustments. The goal was to leave no room for error, ensuring that each aircraft was as safe and reliable as possible. The work was slow, methodical, and costly. Each step of the repair process required careful attention to detail, and there was no room for shortcuts. The technicians understood the gravity of their work and approached each task with the utmost seriousness. Employees faced immense pressure to restore trust in Boeing. The company's reputation was on the line, and every worker felt the weight of that responsibility. Team meetings were frequent as employees collaborated to find solutions and ensure that every aircraft met the highest standards. Shadow factories were where Boeing's future was pieced back together. These facilities, though often unseen by the public, were the heart of the company's efforts to overcome its challenges and emerge stronger. The dedication and hard work of the employees in these factories were crucial to Boeing's path forward. The financial impact of shadow factories was catastrophic for Boeing. With planes grounded, billions in revenue were frozen. Boeing took on massive debt to keep operations afloat. Running shadow factories was astronomically expensive. Maintenance of parked planes was a significant financial drain. Out-of-sequence rework was inefficient and costly. Boeing paid billions in compensation to airlines for delivery delays. Shadow factories symbolized a wider financial disaster. Boeing's crisis shook its financial foundations. Boeing's failures sent shockwaves across the United States, reverberating far beyond the walls of its factories and boardrooms. The news was impossible to ignore. Headlines blared across television screens and newspapers, and the story quickly became a topic of conversation in homes, offices, and even on the streets. For many Americans, Boeing was more than just a company. It was a symbol of national achievement and technological prowess, a name synonymous with innovation and reliability. The company was a cornerstone of American industrial pride, representing decades of hard work, ingenuity, and the spirit of progress. Generations of workers had built their lives and communities around Boeing's success, and its aircraft had carried millions safely across the globe. The sense of pride in American manufacturing was deeply intertwined with Boeing's legacy. But as the crisis unfolded, airline customers found themselves facing mounting frustrations. Delivery delays left fleets grounded, disrupting travel plans and business operations. Quality issues led to tense meetings between airline executives and Boeing representatives, as trust in the company's ability to deliver on its promises began to erode. For the public, the impact was even more personal. Passengers grew anxious about the safety of their flights, and empty seats on planes became a common sight. News of aviation incidents dominated the airwaves, and the once unquestioned trust in air travel was suddenly shattered. The revelations about shadow factories and questionable oversight only deepened the crisis. Headlines about corporate scandals and internal investigations fueled a growing sense of unease, not just among industry insiders, but across the nation. People began to question how such a respected company could lose its way so dramatically. The crisis prompted soul-searching within American business circles. Executives and workers alike wondered what had gone wrong, and whether the relentless pursuit of profit had come at the expense of quality, safety, and the values that once defined American industry. Boeing's cultural shift away from its engineering roots was now painfully evident. The company that once celebrated its technical expertise and hands-on craftsmanship seemed to have lost touch with the very foundation that made it great. Shadow factories, hidden from public view, became a powerful symbol of a company adrift. These spaces, once bustling with skilled workers and innovation, now stood as reminders of lost direction and broken promises. The shock was not just about flawed planes or missed deadlines. It was about the fall of an American icon. For many, it felt like the loss of a piece of the nation's identity, and the beginning of a difficult reckoning for American industry as a whole. Boeing's crisis opened opportunities for competitors. Canadian companies like Bombardier capitalized on Boeing's turmoil. Airlines sought alternatives, boosting Bombardier's market position. Bombardier expanded its global footprint and service centers. The Airbus A220, a former Bombardier program, gained traction. Boeing's crisis rebalanced the competitive aerospace landscape. Canadian and European manufacturers pursued growth while Boeing struggled. By autumn 2025, Boeing closed its last shadow factory. The closure marked the end of a painful chapter in Boeing's history. Progress was slow, hampered by production snags and regulatory delays. The closure was a step towards stabilizing Boeing's production system. Boeing aims to eliminate the need for shadow factories. The company still faces challenges with undelivered models. The end of shadow factories signals a move towards stability. Boeing hopes for a more profitable future. With shadow factories closed, Boeing faces a critical juncture. The focus is on stabilizing production and committing to quality. Regulatory oversight has increased, ensuring safety and quality. Boeing must rebuild trust with regulators, airlines, and the public. The competitive landscape has changed, with Airbus leading. Boeing must innovate to compete in a tougher market. The shadow factories serve as a humbling lesson for the industry. Boeing aims to lead with engineering excellence and safety once more.